Hey guys! So I am here today to do a very exciting video. Today is the day that we announce the shortlist for the Booktube SFF Awards, and it's also the day that hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to be able to show you my two new furry friends who have recently joined my family. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I'm obsessed with posting photos of them because they're the cutest little things ever. And I love them. So two very exciting things that are going on in today's video, and hopefully lots more content to come over the coming weeks as well. Let's get started by talking about the Booktube SFF nominations and shortlists for this year, which is very exciting. So I actually own quite a few of the books that are on the shortlist, and the ones that I didn't own in physical or audio already, I picked up on audio so that I have them ready to go. I think I've read one of everything that's on the entire shortlist list, so that's not great, but it's good because I'm judging in 3 categories this year: fantasy, sci-fi and debut, and actually sci-fi and debut has quite a lot of overlap. So hopefully I will be able to read everything with no problems, and maybe I'll read some of the others because I do own a couple of the other books and things from it. So let's just dive straight in. One of the ones that is shortlisted for fantasy is this book, Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've heard very good things about this. I got sent it by a publisher and I haven't got round to reading it yet, but I really should, especially because so many of you guys clearly love it and nominated it. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's set in Mexico in 1927, and it's all about a magical throne, gods and monsters from the Shadow Realm, and the land of mortals, and how it all begins with a woman. It's her story, and it begins with her. So it sounds like it's going to be quite different to a lot of fantasy. I haven't really read anything set in Mexico, so I'm very excited about picking this one up. And it's a relatively short one for a fantasy, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's also standalone, and in fact, weirdly this year, I think all of the fantasy shortlist nominations are standalone, which is really cool and very accessible to you guys. It means hopefully you can all join us on the fantasy ones this year, which is really cool. So that's number one. The next one on the shortlist for fantasy is one that I have started audiobooking because this book is huge, and it is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I've had my eye on this for quite a while. It definitely seemed like it would be the sort of thing I might enjoy, but with that being said, I saw some mixed reviews when it first came out, so I wasn't really sure if I wanted to commit to picking up the massive hardback, and so I thought, I'll wait, I'll see what people think, and because it's now been nominated for the shortlist, I thought now is the time. So I picked up the audio, I have started it, and so far I'm enjoying it. It definitely seems a little bit like court intrigue to begin with. There's a mystery going on, there's quite a lot of characters, and I'm still kind of getting to grips with the world. But so far I'm enjoying it well enough. I just feel like I'm not very far into it yet, so I need to discover exactly who's who and what's going on with their storylines and how they all interact, and then I'll have a better idea of everything going on and kind of whether I like it or not. So review to follow on that one fairly shortly, I would imagine, because I am reading it now, but saying that, it's a massive book, so hopefully it won't take me too long, we'll see. The next book on the fantasy shortlist is another one that I already owned, so that's very good, and it's this one, which I've been wanting to read since I saw it. It's the Starlight C by Erin Morgenstern. Erin Morgenstern is the author of The Night Circus. I picked this up because I love The Night Circus, and I'm very excited to hopefully enjoy and read this one as well, because it sounds like it's going to be very similar. It's about a young boy called Zachary Rawlins who stumbles across a hidden book in his university library that leads him on a quest into a strange world, and all sorts of magical things start to happen. And I love the idea of going back into a world written by Erin Morgenstern because I loved her writing style before. It's very lyrical, very descriptive, very kind of evocative writing, so looking forward to getting into this one fairly soon as well, and obviously I'll be reviewing it because I'm a judge for this category. So moving on to the sci-fi shortlist. This actually is quite fun for me because I don't read as much sci-fi as I do fantasy, and I hadn't really heard too much about any of these. The first one on the list is Recursion by Blake Crouch, and this one sounds like a pretty interesting book. It's all about the idea of memory, and it's about some sort of disease or something like that, I think, where people have started having incorrect memories of lives they haven't led, and it's all about someone investigating this. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty interesting topic, if nothing else, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try. The next one on the sci-fi list is one I've seen everywhere, but I have not got around to picking up. I was intrigued. I thought it was more horror, but that's probably just me glancing at the cover and not reading the actual blurb, because it definitely has like a zombie skeleton kind of feel to the cover. And this is Gideon the Knight by Tamsin Muir. I don't really know too much about it, but it says that it's about necromancy, and necromancy is one of those topics that really intrigues me. Apparently Gideon the Knight himself is a skeleton. The Emperor is looking out for necromancers, and the 9th necromancer needs a swordsman. Gideon has a sword and some dirty magazines and no more time for the undead bullshit. So it's all about swordplay, cutthroat politics, and lesbian necromancers. So it sounds like it's going to be a real mixture of a ride, but something that is going to be quite different as well. And I'm looking forward to it. The next one on the list is the one that I am most skeptical of, mainly for personal choice. I don't know whether it's going to be my thing, but I'm intrigued. I'll give it a go. And it's called A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. This book I would kind of describe as a little bit of a harder science fiction than the other two from looking at the blurb. It's all about this civilization who are called the Texikalani Empire. I hope I said that right. And it's all about an ambassador who goes to visit this empire once their predecessor has died. As part of this empire, we're not quite sure what's happened. No one is going to be willing to admit that the death was not an accident. So we're following this new ambassador, Mahet Desmer. Not quite sure I'm saying that right. I think it definitely sounds a little bit more of a hard science fiction. It sounds a bit more science-based than the other two. I will give it a go even so. I've got the audiobook of this one, so hopefully they will help me pronounce the names of the civilization and aliens and characters, because I don't think I'm getting them right now. Moving on to the debut novel category, we have one new one in this category and then two that are actually repeats from the sci-fi category. So the new one is The 10,000 Doors of January, which has a beautiful cover and which I've seen around everywhere. Again, it's one that is on my radar, but I have not yet picked it up until the shortlist, so now I've picked it up. And this one sounds pretty interesting because actually the premise is kind of similar to the Starlight C, in that we follow a young woman in this book who finds a sort of mysterious magical book, and again it kind of leads her into adventures and new worlds and new places. So I'm intrigued to see what the differences are between the two and how the story approaches a similar concept but in different ways from different authors. I'm hoping I'll like it. It does have a beautiful cover. It does sound like it's my kind of thing. I love kind of escapist fantasy where people escape into other worlds, so I'm intrigued for sure. And then the other two that are in this category as well, the debut category, include A Memory Called Empire again and Gideon the Knight again. So they're repeat ones, but it's great that you guys love them so much for them to appear in two categories. Hopefully I love them as well, we'll see. Moving on to the YA categories, there's actually 4 titles in the YA and the middle grade categories because there were 2 ties. The first one we have in that category is Starlight by Brandon Sanderson. I really enjoyed this series. I've already read it. It's the one thing on the entire shortlist that I've actually already read, so I'm pleased to see it on there. I do think Sanderson is one of those writers that a lot of people in the booktube world and community enjoy, and he may be very well known already and doesn't necessarily need us to boost him up there, but he's clearly the booktube community's favourite, and I think he's deserving of a place on the list, even though he regularly appears on the Booktube SFF Awards lists. But I like this new series, and I think this book in the series takes an interesting spin on things. I won't say any more than that, but I do like it. The next one on the list is The Wicked King by Holly Black. Holly Black writes lots of sort of fairy tale retelling style books, and I imagine this one's another one in that style. I'm personally not a big fan of hers, but I'm not actually judging the YA category, so I don't need to read these books if I don't want to, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be. But I'll tell you the rest of the ones on the shortlist as well. The next one is Sorcery of Thorns, which is by Margaret Rogerson. And finally in this category we have The Gilded Wolves, which is by Roshani Chokshi. Moving on to the middle grade category, this is a category which sadly I know next to nothing about. I am sorely lacking in middle grade and children's recommendations, but because of that I am very intrigued about this category, and I will definitely be following people's opinions on this one on our Discord server and in general as the awards progress on the Goodreads group, that sort of thing. I really want to know what people think of the middle grade book selections so that I can then decide which ones I want to pick up. I'm not judging in this category, but I do think I might end up reading some of the books from this category because I really love children's fiction when it's done well. In the middle grade category, there were 4 items, so I'm going to read out the names for you. The first one on the list is Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab, which I'm pretty sure I will not read because I do not like Victoria Schwab in general. I love her ideas, hate her writing, do not. I've tried loads of her books and I'm not a fan, so I'm not going to be reading that one for sure, but as I say, I'm not judging this category. Let's move on. The next one is Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee. I did not know that Yoon Ha Lee was writing for kids, and that's something that is new to me from finding out this shortlist, but I'm intrigued because Yoon Ha Lee's adult fiction I found kind of not my thing when I tried one of them. There's a definite style there that doesn't quite gel with my reading tastes. But in kids fiction, I wonder how Yoon Ha Lee has done something different to kind of present to the kids side of it. I'm very intrigued. And so this is something that I'm at least willing to try potentially, even though I haven't liked Yoon Ha Lee's other books. I think the kids area might be more where I could understand and get Yoon Ha Lee's writing. Next up we have Dead Voices, which is by Catherine Arden. I really enjoy Catherine Arden's Bear and the Nightingale book. I need to read the next 2 in that series, and I'm hopeful that I will potentially read this one at some point in the future. And then finally on the middle grade list we have Sal and Gabby Break the Universe, which, let me just start off by saying I love the title of this one. It sounds like it would be a lot of fun, and the author for this is Carlos Hernandez, so I don't know much more about it than that, but it sounds like just from the title it would be an interesting read. And then moving on to the final category, the short fiction category. So let's go into that. I actually own 2 of the short fiction reads, so I might potentially read the others in this category as well. Not necessarily going to be judging it, but I am excited about some of the choices here. So the 2 that I already owned before the shortlist came out are these 2. This is How You Lose the Time War, which is by Max Gladstone and Amal El Motar. Steve, my fiance, actually read this earlier this year, I think, and he really enjoyed it. He said it was great fun, and it's definitely one I want to try out fairly soon, so I'm looking forward to getting to it. I believe it's kind of a mixture written by the 2 authors, and it is a time travel type story, but Steve said that he really enjoyed the approach the authors took to it and how different it was from a lot of things he's read before. So it's very short and sweet, but hopefully one that I'll really like when I get to it, and whether that's in time for the Booktube SFF Awards or not, hopefully. But yeah, definitely one that I will be reading at some point for sure. And then the next one, which is also one that I already owned, is this one, To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. You guys know Becky Chambers is one of my favourite authors, and I don't really know what my excuse is for not having got to this book already. Really looking forward to going back into her worlds. I don't know if this is set in the same world as some of her others, but it's definitely going to be something I will hopefully enjoy when I get to it. And then the other books on the shortlist for short fiction include The Test, which is by Sylvain Nouvel. I have read other books by Sylvain and I have really mixed feelings. I liked some, I didn't like the others. They did a 3-book series. I think the first one was alright, the second I really liked, and the third was a bit meh. So a real mixed bag. I'd be willing to try the short fiction, but I'm not sure if it would necessarily be my thing per se. And that is it for short fiction. That is it, in fact, for all of the Booktube SFF nominees. And hopefully you guys are excited about the shortlist. I think we have a good range of titles in all the categories, and hopefully it's going to be a really fun year to read everything. Like I say, we're going to be doing some read-alongs on the Discord server and on the Twitter, so follow all of the social medias and come join the Discord server if you haven't already. We're having loads of chatter over there about general reading and Booktube SFF reading, so I'd love for you guys to come and join us. And before I go, I'm going to try and introduce you to my cats, who for the whole video have been exploring this room very excitedly and just kind of getting into a little bit of trouble. So I'll see if I can catch them and show you the new additions to the family. This is Squidge. She is the easier one of the 2 to be held, and then the other one is more tricky because she doesn't like being held as much, but I'll see if I can catch her briefly. This is Smudge. She's not going to stay for long. But yes, Smudge and Squidge they are, and they are ridiculously cute and ridiculously troublesome. They love chasing each other around. Smudge is actually Squidge's mum. She is 4.5 and Squidge is 2.5. And they're super cute. We got them about 3 weeks ago and they've really settled in, but we are keeping them indoors at the moment, so they are kind of just little lap cats at the moment. Their personalities are very different. Smudge is very much more adventurous and loves roaming around doing her own thing. Squidge is a lot more happy to chill out with you whilst you're reading a book and will come and snuggle right up to you. So they're very different personalities, but they kind of complement each other really well, and generally they're pretty well behaved, but occasionally they get up to all sorts of mischief. I've got loads of cute photos on my Instagram if you guys want to go and see them. And hopefully I will be reading lots of books over the next few weeks with them on my lap or beside me for the Booktube SFF Awards. So let me know your comments on the shortlist below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye guys!